Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Unbalanced but alluring former mental patient takes a porn star prisoner in the hopes of convincing her to marry him. Ricky is released from a mental hospital and knows exactly what he wants to do. He hunts down Marina, a porn film star he once had sex with, and tries to convince her to be his wife. She is a bit reluctant, so he ties her up. Will this approach endear him to her? Samba, anybody? Good morning, everybody. This is Mitch Motian calling and talking live from Brand Live Radio at the Melville studio. Yes, what you've heard there was a little storyline, and that was a movie that was released on the 1990s. It was a dark romantic, a Spanish comedy, and it was called Atame. Of course, what is this to do with my show? Well, that movie was called Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. So, you get the relation? Of course, that beautiful mambo track was played by Mambo Loco, and it's entitled Canción del Alma. It's actually the theme song from Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, and translated, it's called the Song of My Soul. Now, I'm here today not to talk about the Antonio Banderas movie or with Victoria Abril, but quite a looker she is. But I'm here actually to talk about Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. Yes, I'm here to talk about ties. I do realize that ties may not be something that everybody will favor and want to listen to, so I just try to spice it up a bit. Now, as with all the sartorial elegances and accessories, let's start off with a brief history behind it. The tie was essentially the invention of the Victorians, and it was supposed to initially protect your shirt from the detritus of every day. That's, when you're sitting down and having your meals, etc. So any food morsels or any other dirt that may cling onto your shirt. So the tie then was a means to prevent your shirt from becoming dirty. However, historically, only two groups of people have anything around the necks. Now, this may be a bit tongue-in-cheek, but two groups of people have things around the necks, and which is essentially your slaves and the hanged. All right, I'm not supposed to be laughing there. That's actually quite serious. And of course, if you were in the Roman times, when you say, "Here, put this around your throat," oh, you would have really insulted the Roman. And a bit of touch, soft play on this. The anthropologists would argue that a tie essentially directs a viewer's attention downwards to the wearer's genitals. Hence the arrow-like shape, a kind of displaced codpiece. Yeah. All right. So moving on to the origin of the ties, and enough of our farce here. The modern necktie spread from Europe back in the time of the 30 Years' War, which is around the 1618 to the 17th century, when the Croatian mercenaries from the Croatian military frontier assisted the French. And whilst they were coming into into Paris and the other Parisian cities or towns, people noted that they were standing aloof or looking very different to the other soldiers. And the thing that highlighted or elevated them from the others is that they wore a knotted neckerchief around the neck, and it was a very dark hued of red. Now, hence, the history of the cravat stemmed from the Croats, and the name cravat is actually a French word, cravat, and it actually stemmed from the Croatian term of kravati. Now, when the boy king Louis XIV watched this, he then started wearing a lace cravat. And mind you, he was then only 7. So Louis XIV had quite a lot of sartorial elegance, even at that early stage. And of course, by him wearing that neck piece, he set off a fashion of French nobility. We then moved through the 1860s to the 1920s, and here we've had the likes of bow ties, your scarf, your neckerchief, and the ascot, the long tie. So with the Industrial Revolution, more people wanted a neckwear that was easy to put on, that was comfortable, and would last an entire workday. Mind you, in reflection, does the necktie, is it comfortable? Is it easy to put on? Can you handle an entire workday with it? Let's investigate. Then neckties were designed long, thin, and easy to knot, and they did not come undone. So literally millions of people wore the necktie. This also gave rise to sometimes complicated means of knotting, which we will delve further into it. So after the First World War, hand-painted ties became an accepted form of decoration in America. And of course, the various widths and lengths varied, and it also depended on the flamboyancy of the person making it and of the person wearing it. In Britain, regimental stripes have been continuously used in tie designs at least since the 1920s. Now, when I talk about regimental stripes here, I'm talking about the Oxford ties. So guys, here's something for you to be aware of. In the Commonwealth countries, your necktie stripes run from the left shoulder down to the right side. But in the States, the stripes run from the right shoulder down to the left side. And that is essentially to distinguish the Yankees from the Brits. So before the Second World War, ties were worn shorter than they were today. And that was due to gentlemen wearing their trousers really higher than the belly button. Okay, let's reflect on that. So you see either this tall gentleman or this short person wearing his trouser higher than his belly button. And of course, if you see that now, you're prone to snigger. So, geez, that guy is wearing his trouser right up his neck. Yeah. So obviously, by having the trouser that high, the ties then had to be short. Ties then transformed into a bold look, and then around the 1950s, the Esquire magazine then introduced something slimmer. And this was actually characterized and complemented the suiting. So your suits then in the 1950s were the tapered look, the slimmer lapels, and the smaller hat brims. So this had to fall in line with what you're wearing. But I like the 1960s stuff, which brought in an influx of pop art, and this was influenced by quite a large and complex range of people. But before we go into that, can we have an ad break?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Brandlive.co.za is thought leadership radio. It's a new way to communicate your brand, your value, and what we think about your industry. Be a leader, be a voice, and we will help you shape your industry. Our radio platform is for thought leaders who want to share insights, businesses who want to create value for their databases, organizations who want to control their message, for those that drive change. Make your brand come alive on brandlive.co.za, harnessing the power of talk radio.
Making a bold statement yet blending into the
Brandlive.co.
surrounding suburbs of Melville, 27 Boxes is a realization of edgy design and practical implementation. A radical departure from the shopping malls of our generation, yet not a return to the high streets of our youth. 27 Boxes showcases the best of a shopping centre set in a garden, surrounded by the bohemian suburb that is Melville. 27 Boxes, shop, play, eat.
It's the official Major World Online Stew Invasion.
Bars on bars.
What about me right now? It's about our guest, bafethi skip on. I'm out ngatsalele bafethi. Yo, I'm a play nyane studio bafethi skip on. Oh, freestyle nyane. Shenge freestyle. Fana kuma no baba Andy.
Hey yo Andy. Hashtag.
Ahlanganisela ama beat dog. Ngocela.
Young niggas ambition, waking up is working for money. Changing the past, feeding the fams, malang lali. We keep it running like SPV, exchanging money.
Man, nice. Hey, nice. Call them unexpected experts. White sweatshirt.
Hey.
Looking down on these niggas, my damn neck hurts.
Woo.
You can go ahead, homie, give me your best work. I bet you take your phone out and mumble up your first words.
Live from 27 Boxes in the heart of Melville. This is brandlive.co.za.
If you think you want me, if you think you need me, if you think you love me, and if you think you can use me, I'm a handy dandy man. If you think you want me, if you think you need me, if you think you love me, and if you think you can use me, I'm a handy dandy man. I'm a handy dandy man.
I like it. Do you like it? All right, listeners, that was a track by Justin Timberlake, yes. And for your information, yes, at this stage, at this millennia, he is singing about the suit and tie. There you go, for the youngsters. All right, so prior to this, I spoke about the beautiful ties around the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I think there's something I really must tell you guys. There was a tie around the 1940s, which was called the belly warmer tie. Right, come on, picture this, guys. Belly warmer tie. So it's not your skinny tie, it's not your broad tie. I actually call it incorrectly a couple of months ago to a client. I call it a bib tie. And the simple reason I call it a bib tie is that it's huge, it's broad. It's about 20 centimeters across your chest or 25 centimeters across your belly, so hence the belly warmer. Now with a huge tie like that, if you want some recollection, think of the trendy old actors such as Bob Hope, Alan Ladd, and Danny Kaye. All right, and things really progress from this belly warmer tie. Soon, the designers started to do some fantastic artwork, and yes, one of the first things they would do is paint scantily clad girls on the tie. What a treat! What a treat! All right, moving along to the 70s. I like a certain tie that came through. Of course, this is a biased opinion because of my love for the Western genre, but this tie is called the bolo tie. Now you may see it in the Westerns. It's essentially a clasp, a ornamental clasp, and it is threaded with a string, or rather with a leather band. And normally your Western outies and so forth will be wearing that, riding on their horses into the sunset. Around the 90s, the 90s was such an awesome decade for music, but in terms of fashion, it was really a hodgepodge. So the 90s, they brought in a whole lot of stuff from the 40s, the 50s and 60s, and they banked it up with various widths and sizes, and of course, they also banked it up with certain types of collars. But then as we near the end of the century, ties leveled off to a more uniform width. You felt you had your basic 4 inches, your slim ties. And then what I haven't spoken about thus far is the basic tie knots. So there are quite a few tie knots, ladies and gents, but essentially you just need to appreciate 2 knots: the Windsor and the half Windsor knot. The Windsor, or the 4 knotted tie, is essentially your very broad knot. It is perfectly symmetrical, and it has the shape of a perfect triangle. While the half Windsor is one that I would recommend if you're wearing silk ties, rather you use the half Windsor for the following reasons. One, it's very easy to tie, and secondly, it prevents creasing on your tie, because the knot that you do is half, and it is actually very loose. So that's another aspect in terms of looking after the ties.
Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Grow! Yeah. Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bstownmedia.co.za.
Whether you're an athlete or just going about your day-to-day business, use TurboFreeze on the go for any pain relief or inflammation. It's the #1 pain relief formula. To find out more, log on to our website, www.turbofreeze.co.za.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za.
Hi guys, this is Mitch Motian from Timeless Clothiers, and we're talking today about ties and the I've tagged the program "Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down," and as we progress now into the final stretch of the discussion, with ties, you'd find that as of the 1990s and the 2000s, as more and more startups issued business dress codes for the more casual looks, ties became less of a daily component. So now in many offices, ties are a novelty. You may have a tie Tuesday or a new Hawaiian shirt day, or I used to call it the Friday shirt day, and that's basically how the corporate is. But we're pleased to mention that that those sartorialists will be happy to know that there is a comeback with the tie, and for those that like to have a certain national day, please chalk this down in your calendar that there is a National Tie Day. I'm serious, guys. There is a National Tie Day. It is not today. It is in December, and I will advise the date soon to the time. So now, we spoke about, despite various attempts to kill off the ties, they are making a return. And killing of the ties were done by the following groups. Your turtleneck wearing intellectuals. Think Howard from the Big Bang Theory, right? Then you had your laid-back Silicon Valley types, your IT guys, Steve Jobs, yes, great person that he was, and of course the recent corporate casual movement, which simply ignores ties. But beneath all this, struggling to maintain it, ties are coming through. So indeed, after a brief downturn a few years ago, ties are now making a revival through the aspect of tailored clothing, through the aspect of the dandy wearer. And I must admit that things have changed for the better. On a personal note, I love to wear a tie. There will be occasions, and the one I'll make a recommendation for is for an easy wear. You can wear a blazer, beautifully white starched shirt, and jeans and a funky tie. Of course, if you need to go for an interview, you leave out the funky tie, leave out the jeans, and wear something more sedate. And I've been told that when you are sitting opposite a potential boss, the proper color of tie to wear would be a blue tie. Try that, guys. Blue is encouraging, it's calming, it's enticing. Try not to wear a red tie. You wouldn't want to be a Donald Trump. Now, in conclusion, I appreciated this. I'm hoping that you did the same. I tried to make it a bit sexy at the beginning by delving into a soft porn movie at that stage in 1990s. Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. I had to do something crazy just to get your attention, because just talking on ties alone is quite boring. But on that note, I thank you for your time, and hopefully you have imbibed some stuff. And once again, if there's anything you wish to discuss, any recommendations, as you've been doing, and yes, you're not afraid to do so, please do hit me up on Instagram, on WhatsApp 062-043-2802, and of course on Facebook, Timeless Clothiers. And with that in mind, we will finally play out with a classic tune. This is by ZZ Top. Yes, I am skipping genres, I do realize that. And this is called Your Best Dressed Man. Adios, amigos.
Like a short-dressed man.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za